Most UK investors are buying the same 2 to 3 ETFs, usually the S&P 500, the old world, and more than likely the NASDAQ. But here's the thing. There's a lot of ETFs out there that you can buy that offer great diversification and simplicity for investing. They're a lot more balanced, have more income, and as I say, overlooked. Now I'm going to showcase 3 very clear and obvious ones that you have probably not even looked at, and you probably should, realistically. And if you like this sort of thing, please do leave a like on the video, comment what your favorite ETF is, and if you're not yet done so, and I know 60% of you who watch my channel, and I know you're all probably on the TV and it's a bit more harder, press the subscribe button, please. Now, the problem we have is the everyone default mode. It is, as I say, the all world funds, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ. I talk about this a lot. The big problem we have with that is the overlap and the fact that maybe majority of all those, let's be honest, are the same top 10. And I get this comment a lot about certain things regarding, ETFs. I'll mention it. Does it matter? I think it does. Why would you want to have 3 ETFs that do the exact same job? And I know in a bull market, that's great. You may make more money. But actually, you're probably spending on more fees when you don't need to. When you can buy more of one and have 2 other spaces for different diversification or income factor or different balance on your portfolio to allow you to have a better spread. The situation I find, there's always a bull market somewhere. And if you're in the same top 10, for example, with high weight in the US market, you're basically relying on that to work out. What if it doesn't? What if we do change and it goes into Europe or it goes into the UK or Japan, emerging markets, whatever it may be, gold we've seen recently. So yeah, just food for thought, isn't it? And the one thing that I did a couple of years back was understand that, well, I'm not that bothered about the S&P 500. I'm not that bothered about the NASDAQ because I have Bitcoin. You know this. But I wanted to look closer to home. I wanted to look at the UK market. I'm happy I've done that. And even recently, I've seen like Damien Talks Money talk about the FX effect of like why people don't understand the fact that if you're buying US stocks or predominantly US funds, which are based in America, you are going to get a currency effect. And that could lead to problems. And I know, swings and roundabouts, it will go in your favor sometimes too. But ultimately, that could well be a problem for a lot of people. But let's look on the screen regarding this. What do we need to look for in an ETF? And it's quite simple. It's kind of 5 tips in a way. The purpose, the growth, the income, diversification, knowing why you're buying it before anything else. What is the purpose for that situation? Why do you want that fund? The next clear and obvious one should be geography. The geographical location of this. Is it global, European, UK? Is it US heavy? Should it fit in your portfolio? Is it making it balanced? What does it mean? Well, you should hopefully know that very, very clearly. Yield. If there is a bit of income, and most funds have yield regardless if it's accumulating or distributing, because most stocks tend to pay a dividend these days. Not all, but most. And if you've got a one with, say, 50 to 100 to 200 to 2,000 stocks in them, for example, right? The situation is you will find that all of a sudden you're going to get random accumulation. Check the yield, check the quality behind it. Simple as that. And the overlap. We all need to talk about the overlap. We know the overlap's important, right? This is huge. Are you doubling up? What is the point of like saying having the same stock 300 million times for no reason? There's no reason because all you're doing is adding to your overall cost factor for buying more ETF funds. And on the bottom, as you can see, the extra note, if you're buying basically US or other style currencies, which is not in your native currency, you are going to get a currency effect where it's going to be a swap between the currencies. That could lead to problems, especially dollar as it's tanking quite a bit right now. But let's go back to the world default. On the screen, we have the overlap analysis on my free tool. We're going to go into this tool a bit more in depth in a minute because it's important to note. Basically, long story short, there's a 48% overlap here. 48%. You basically got a weight of roughly 20.5% or 19.5%, 17.8% in the likes of Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia. Okay, that's where the problems lie. So yeah, when we talk about this side of it, it's huge. And again, I know, huge overlap with technology, huge overlap obviously with the geography. It becomes a bit of an issue. And I know when people watch me on Facebook and see the clips and I talk about this and people are like, well, it has worked out. Yeah, it has. But overall cost side of it, do you need to have the 3? No, One would do. Let's be honest. I'm not saying buy, don't buy any at all. Just buy one. It makes more sense, doesn't it? Really, it does, doesn't it? So yeah. And the situation that I find, certainly moving forward when we talk about this, what if those top 10, for example, have a blip, 2-year period of nothingness, and it really affects the market? Well, that could be an issue. The first one on the list, and it's one that I have, is basically, long story short, the all-world high dividend yield. Fantastic performance, as you can see on the screen. It is a distributing fund, obviously. More importantly, it offers a good yield. It's around about 2 point something percent, not 3.45%. But the overall price performance has been brilliant. Decent fund like size as well. But more importantly, it's diversification because it's thousands of stocks. That is the whole element of this. The top 10 side of it, as you can see here, 16.8%. And yeah, 41% of it in America, pretty much. And the rest of it in Europe and other bits and pieces. So it's quite broad. That's the thing. Solid companies that pay a good dividend yield, essentially. And that's the thing. I think it's overlooked because people go, oh, dividends, they're not going to get much growth. 23.8%. Huge returns over the last 5 years. That's the thing. They still offer growth. And that's the most key thing here. You've got to look at that side of it. Their dividend yield is growing. And more importantly, so are the stocks inside. And this is what I recommend for a lot of people. If you want to have income at the end of your journey, have this anyways. Let it compound, let it build, let it grow. Because overall, it's doing the exact same thing as the All World Fund, which, as it stands right now, outperforming it. Just for reference, by the way, this is the All World Fund. So yeah, interesting, isn't it? Let's go to Europe, because basically the developed European market here is pretty strong. The VEUR, right? This essentially, as you can imagine, is the developed market of the European stocks. Decent value, cheap, it's good, it's efficient. Top 10 holdings, 22.5%. Quite diverse. Has a decent chunk in the UK as well. No America, that's what I was meant to say. No America at all, which is great. The situation with a lot of this side of it is people look at, America first and they don't look at Europe. Europe have some fantastic yields. They don't realistically have massive volatility, 14.8%, which isn't crazy when you consider it. And that's the thing. Growth cargo over the course of the dividends is actually really, really strong. A high income payer, growing your dividends, and actually overall price performance, pretty steady. I think a lot of people will be very, very happy with that performance over a 5-year period. When you divide it up, that isn't too shabby at all. When you compare the fact of what other markets do, yeah, it's lower, but it's a cheap fund, more importantly, and also it gives you a 3% yield. That's good. That bumps it up quite a lot. And something that is going through, I would argue, a bit of a purple patch is the FTSE 100. There's 97% of people who watch my channel are from the UK, okay? And quite a lot of them don't have any UK exposure. I have it in terms of the dividend side of it. Now, this has strong dividends. This has okay performance. Not amazing performance, okay at performance. But it is a cheap fund. It has a lot of assets within here that are quite strong. Battle heavy, big boy stocks, right? Only 100, obviously. But growth cargo, good. Dividend yield, good. Can't really complain at all. The volatility level, 13.2%. Quite a steady ship here. And as I say, if you are in the UK, you should probably be focusing on this. And yes, I know there's quite a lot of it is in the top 10, which on most funds like this kind of happens. The S&P is the same, the All World Fund is the same. It happens, right? But overall, those stocks are pretty strong. A lot of energy stocks, oil, etc. So that would be quite important when you think about the conflict. And as I say, the FTSE 100 has been doing pretty good. I do think this sort of fund is overlooked massively. And I never see many people comment saying the FTSE 100. And I think you should definitely have some sort of UK exposure, especially if you're living in the UK. The reason why I say this, it is a strong income market. It's by far one of the best. And I am looking to maybe experiment with another ISA at some point with just doing 100% UK. See how it goes. But this is the thing, right? And I know, I say it a lot. A lot of people do chase the US hype. And that is great. But investing isn't designed to be ferocious. It isn't designed to be crazy all the time. And as I say, right, we're going through a bit of a purple patch throughout the market, and it's a bit crazy. It isn't always like this. If you look back through history, it isn't like this at all. It may look like it when you zoom out over a 10-year period, but over a period of a year, getting a 23% gain on your fund, that doesn't happen all the time. Many people ignore balance, simplicity, and then when you pair that with income, they just ignore it completely. And I don't understand why, but it's designed, as I say, to be easy, less volatile. You don't have to sweat. You don't have to wake up for your 3 a.m. piss and go, oh, my portfolio's done really bad today, and you don't get to sleep because of it. That situation shouldn't be happening unless you're in crypto, obviously. But the thing is here as well, let me just be blunt. You don't need 10 ETFs. You just need the right ones. 3 max, maybe you could argue. 4 at a push, 5 at a push, potentially, depending on what sectors you're in. If you've got gold and stuff like that, that's fine. The goal of an ETF is to simplify and be diverse and do the heavy lifting for you, not to beat the market, to be in the market. And obviously, yes, the right market, obviously, because as I've alluded to before, there will be little bullish periods in different markets you may not have exposure to. And there's a reason for that. Now, members of my website know about this, and it is coming very, very soon. If you want to jump in, Plus membership is quite cheap at the minute, but I am building this. This is a stock and ETF screener. This is going to have live data sets from FMP. It's going to be a lot more in depth. It's going to do a lot more things. This is giving you a bit of an idea. It's not fully finished yet. This is all dummy data, but it will be a very, very good way to do your research. There's a lot of things that need to change, but you can kind of see how it kind of looks and what it will become. It will have everything on here from live data sources. There's going to be as well a much bigger, I'll showcase this because it's very, very cool, a much bigger overlap tool. This overlap tool will be a lot more in depth and it will showcase a lot more. They will also be on here very, very soon, a portfolio side of it, which will link it all together so you can have your own portfolio in one place. You can also ask the AI on it as well. It'll be one tool for everything. That's hugely important. But thought I'll give you a little bit of a sneak preview in terms of how it all looks. There's still, as I say, a lot of things to do. Recommendations on here as well. Your overall, whatever. It's all dummy data. But yeah, it all come from live sources, which is pretty cool. Whereas the live one on the ETF screener for free members, it's not fully live data. It's scraped data from multiple sources. So that will remain. That'll be there forever. But this will be the one which will have a lot more information. And also it will have individual stocks. For example, again, legal in general, it is dummy data, but it gives you an idea of what we're going to have here. So yeah, I know not everyone's interested and you can use other platforms, that's fine. But I want to use my own stuff and I want to do it my own way. So my little stupid brain can calculate it all for me. Please do subscribe. My next video will be a portfolio kind of update in terms of what I'm doing. So yeah, stay tuned for more.